Welcome back. In this exciting video, we're going to take a look at the currency system within Logbook Pro. The currency editor that's in Logbook Pro, as well as the currency system within the Explorer and the reports, has come a long way since Logbook Pro was first released in 1998. As you all that have been with us since the early 1.x versions, you all know that the currency wizard pretty much took on a new form and was entirely replaced in the 1617 time frame. We can enter the currency editor and create as many currencies as we want by clicking the currency button on the main toolbar. Let's go over the interface and then we'll look at creating some currencies. The far left side is where we manage our currency groups as well as the currencies within a group. So we have a group in this example. We have a group name, AMEL. We have a group name, ASEL. So we can have multiple groups, and then within each group we can have currencies. So it's a nice way of organizing your currencies. You might want to have an instrument group, a VFR group. The Logbook Pro actually ships with your two VFR basic currencies, VFR night and VFR day. But you can actually customize and rearrange. We can drag and drop currencies around and assign them to different groups, etc. So pretty nice interface here for actually managing your currencies and assigning them to groups to organize as you desire. The center section, which will come into play just a little later, it's disabled right now because we don't have any currencies selected. Well, let's go ahead and select one we can see, is actually the criteria for building a currency. We have two main areas. One is called all to pass, and anything and everything that you assign to this group, such as your medicals, your history events, which include medicals, your currency items, every single item that's in the all to pass group must pass for the currency to pass. Then we have another group on the bottom here called any to pass. If any of the items within this group, any of these single items pass, the currency passes. Then we can have a system where we can use a combination of these two groups using the AND or logic of joining the two groups. The OR, which means all to pass. So if every one of the items in the all to pass group passes, or any single item in the any to pass group passes. Another way of looking at this is if the top group passes or the bottom group passes, the currency passes. If I have AND selected, then both the top group and the bottom group must pass in order for my currency to pass. Now when we evaluate the currency in what is a pass for the group, again, all to pass, for the all to pass group to pass, every item in the group must pass. For the any to pass, any item in the group must pass. Sounds confusing. Don't work too hard on this, but it's a very simple system, exactly as the title says. Then on the far right side of the currency editor is where we create currency items. User-defined items that you can create and select multiple items to define your currency. With the currency items, we can actually define as many currency items as we need, but you also want to label them clearly so that you can identify what your currency item is, which it contains, which is it's in a collapsed state right now. You can actually see the definition of the currency as we branch down or expand the currency item. We have currency items, and then we have history events. Any item from your history area, such as your medical, your instrument, your biennial flight review, any item that has an expiration date, which is by default an item that belongs in the history area. If it has an expiration date, such as a medical, you should be logging that in the history area. Therefore, history events or history items can be used to build your currency. So we have two main areas. A lot of people don't realize that this bar is down here. Click this bar on the bottom right, History Events, and you can now assign these events to your currency. Let's take a look at a currency item. Let's look at AML Night Landings. Now, only configure your currency item to the level required. No reason, if it only requires to be multi-engine land, such as identified here, there's no reason to specify type ratings and complex and high performance, because the more filters that you set to narrow your data, the more chances something's not going to be right in your currency. I've seen some people that they ask, how come this isn't working this way? Well, you've set your complex wrong because you don't have any multi-engine, or maybe it was single-engine land and all they had was Cessna 152 time, and for some reason they had complex to yes. Then the currency was always showing expired, and they couldn't figure out that none of your aircraft are complex. So you have to be very careful how you configure. Well, let's go from the top down. The very first thing is the title. And remember I said to make your title as descriptive as possible so that you know what's within your currency just by the title. Now try to keep it brief as well. You don't want it to get too wide and to where it's hard to read. You can type in a description, which is more or less information for your reference, whether this currency expires end of the month or to the day, and then the time period in a value, and then the unit, in other words, days, months, years, or the available options. Now, don't get lazy with this. For example, if your currency is defined by FARs or whatever your country's regulations are, that it is to be 90 days, don't just get lazy and put in 3 months. 3 months is not the same as 90 days. All right, there's different days in every month, different number of days, and that could cause some problems in your currency calculation. So be very careful and make sure you actually set, if it's supposed to be 90 days, then set 90 and days. The required item, and then the field that is required. In this case, we're looking at AML Night Landings. So we select Night Landings as the field. Your custom fields are also available to be used for currencies. So you can pretty much create any currency within Logbook Pro by defining any custom fields if necessary. But in this case, Night Landings is what we have to select. It applies to all types. The category could also be all. Well, in this case, we are looking at airplane multi-engine land. So we have airplane and then multi-engine land for the class. And then the characteristics and everything else can remain as needed. And that's all there is to it. Create your items that you need for your currencies. Now let's take a look at building a currency. So let's create a new group. And then we can see it's right here. Let's add a currency. And yes, it's going to go under My Test, but you can also assign it to go under a different group as you create the currency. It is then selected. You have to actually select your currency that you are designing to define your currency. So all we have to do now is select. We want 6 approaches. We expand the currency item we want to use, and then select either arrow if we want it to go into the any to pass or the all to pass. And you could put it in both if you wanted, if your currency requires that. So, I mean, there's no limit. You just click the arrow, select the next item you want to put into the area, however you want to define it. Let's add a couple history events. And of course, I'm just randomly adding items just to show you how to create a currency. This currency means nothing. It's just for demonstration purposes. Now, here's something also. If you have a Class 1 medical, and you know how a Class 1 medical automatically regresses to a Class 2 and then a Class 3, and all your currency requires is that you have a valid or current medical, doesn't specify which class, go ahead and enter all the medicals. And that way, if you have any medical that is current, whether it's Class 1, 2, or 3, in the any to pass group, which means Class 1 or Class 2 or Class 3 or ASES Night, then your currency is going to pass, especially with this OR criteria. That's how easy it is to create currencies. We can click this button in the top right portion of the currency editor, and this will show us the currency report. In the currency report, we get an expanded view of our currencies broken down by our group, then by our currency, then by the currency items. First we have the all to pass group, and then the any to pass group. And we can see green items are good, and it also tells us how many days remaining for that particular item. And then overall for a currency, if your currency is a pass, 90 days remaining, as you can see here. So it tells you. If you're within the warning period, it will show as purple, as well as when you start up Logbook Pro, you will get a reminder window to identify the currency is getting ready to expire. So, as you can see, we've got a very powerful system here for creating currencies in Logbook Pro. Very easy, user-friendly interface, nothing but positive feedback. Everyone seems to love it. I happen to build one that actually is current. And the reason this one is current, we'll take a look at this. You go, hey, I've got an expiration here. I've got an expiration here. How can this currency be a pass? How could it possibly be good to go? The answer is, look at the OR, which connects the all to pass group and the any to pass group. This is telling us that I need all of these to pass. It does not. I do not have an all to pass acceptable because of this bottom item is not a pass. However, the any to pass, I have 3. I only require 1, but I have 3 passes. So yes, any of these items a pass? You betcha. Then because that's connected to OR, either this group wins or this group wins, means the currency wins. Yep, the currency wins. It is still current. So a very unique and exciting, very impressive currency system within Logbook Pro. We'll go into the Explorer, which is also identified in the video dedicated to the Logbook Pro Explorer, but you can see our currency. We'll go ahead and expand all, and then scroll down and take a look at the currency we just created. Is available for viewing right here in the Logbook Pro Explorer in a very nice, understandable fashion. As well, it tells you exactly when, after March 31st, 2004, is when your currency is going to expire. And that is because of this item right down here is driving that currency. So as you can see, Logbook Pro's got an outstanding currency editor with the ability to pretty much create any currency. In fact, I have yet to have anyone tell me a currency they can't create. There's always a way of making it happen. A very unique interface. No other software application has a currency system such as this. And easy to use, straightforward, and very powerful. And it takes next to nothing as far as system resources to calculate your currencies. So it's a very fast and efficient system. Hope you learned about the currency wizard, the currency editor rather, and the currency output capabilities here of Logbook Pro. It's an exciting feature. Thank you.